But there's a difference this time.
I'm getting there.
There's
I'm getting there.
there's a difference because, I mean, go ahead, you go ahead.
I'm getting there.
So,
All right. The difference, because there is a difference this time. The difference this time is we are going to go deep, and we're going to go dark, and we're going to go into those private servers, and we're going to start organizing because we've lost our country. Because we're going to have seen the evidence so stark. And again, this is an amazing thing coming from me. It's amazing for me. Understand, I am a person having written hundreds upon hundreds of articles with the hashtag Never Trump in it. Okay? Fast forward 4 years, and still didn't like the guy, but when I ran the math, at the end of the day, it was the only option I had. Okay?
and the question is the guy in the Oval Office trying to destroy America, or is the person they're about to put in the Oval Office?
And when I said if it goes the other way, 2020 was nothing compared to what 2021 is going to be. Because, very simple, and we all know it, we've all heard about the Great Reset. We've all heard about it. We don't have to conspiratorialize this in any way, shape, or form. They are on the record. They have the website. They have the documents. The legislative, the actual legislation has already been written, and we can read it online today. It is penned by current sitting House of Representatives, elected by American people, who say in those documents, A, no gasoline-powered cars in 10 years. B, no private property in 10 years. In America.
Does that include,
Legislation, written, proposed.
you're telling me that every governor, every mayor, and everybody worth $50 million is not going to own their own private property? Or are they?
I'm not saying they're not
I'm
going
just
to.
asking. So I know that.
We know that the elites are going to have their own property. They're going to have gated,
So when they say no private property, they mean everybody that's got 50 million or more.
They mean everybody in this
Private
room.
property for you.
They mean everybody in this room. They don't mean
For
them.
us.
And that will all be written into exemptions, and just like they write exemptions. I mean, come on. You know, you can't smoke in any federal building in America except one. You know which one it is? The Capitol. You know, you smoke your cigars in your Capitol offices on Capitol Hill, but they passed the laws where no other federal building can do that. They always write their exemptions in for themselves. All right, so before we hit my kill switch here, anybody else, real quick? Any other questions? Oh, and by the way, you think you've seen climate change up to this point? I'm not saying have you seen climate change. I'm saying have you seen climate change legislation up to this point? You've seen nothing yet. That's going to make COVID look, COVID is child's play.
AOC is going to be the only person allowed on a plane in America.
All right, so anybody else? Okay. All right, so what's the upside here? Anybody want to guess what the upside is? What's the good? How do we stave this off? What is our advantage? Who can tell me what our advantage is against this cartel and this incredible agenda? Because your question is absolutely true. Is the agenda to finally bring us to our knees and end capitalism and end the American experiment? Because you do realize how short this experience has been in human history. It is and has been for the entire length of human history. It has been the norm throughout all of history, all over this world, to be ruled by somebody. And this little 240-year experience has been this long in the grand scheme of things.
And what Steve mentioned, look, we just talked about 244 years. America became the world power
In that time.
77 years ago when we went to have to go fight World War II over in Europe, okay? And England and France were on our side.
So what's the upside? So what's the upside?
We're fighting for our homes. We're defenders.
What advantage do we have over the dark side?
True. True.
Huh? Well, what if we can't get the truth out?
Patriotism.
Huh?
Patriotism.
All of that's part of it, but what if we can't get the truth out? What if the Patriots are, I mean, we saw what the Patriots are willing to do as far as walking away from their jobs and going, okay, put the mask on, okay. So what the Patriots were willing to do there. What is the advantage that we have?
Ingenuity of
Real
America.
quick, real quick. Anybody else? Anybody else? We have this saying. It's a cute little slogan. You know, there is no first without the second, and we have a tremendous advantage. And I am really, I'm privileged in that I get to read this because my inbox, from having written for so many years, is so full every day. And 99% of it is all well-meaning, well-intentioned. Steve, have you seen this yet? Have you read this yet? Have you watched this video yet? Do you know this guy? Have you ever followed this? I mean, my inbox every day is just full of messages like that. That's great. I don't have time to read them. I don't have time to watch all of them. But the ones that I love is the ones that I get from overseas. The ones that the most recent one I got was from somebody in South Africa. He actually said this to me in a private message. He said, you guys do understand that if you lose your Second Amendment, the rest of the world falls. And over the years, I've received that exact same message from former Soviet bloc countries, from Indonesia. People, outside of the United States, there's a huge following of Brazil. The libertarian music movement in Brazil is huge, if you're not familiar with that. And that's the same kind of messages that I get from there. They're all waiting and watching. Are we going to access and take advantage of our birthright, our constitutional birthright? That's what they're waiting on. And the numbers are there. Going back to the math. All right, who knows? How many privately owned guns in American private citizens' hands do we have right now?
Over a billion.
Well, that we know of, that are tracked, it's over 400 million. But then there's the ones that are lost in boating accidents.
Right.
Okay, so we know that there's over 400 million. So let's just stick with that number here for a second. How many firearms does every police agency in America have? I'm talking about the local sheriff, local police department, all the way up to the FBI, the DEA, state troopers, all the three-letter agencies. What's the total number of firearms all of the police forces in America have? Anybody know? 2 million. We have every police agency in America outgunned. What's that factor? 200%? What's that, 2,000%? 2,000%. All right. U.S. military, Marines, National Guard, Army, Air Force, Navy. How many do they have? 4 million. We have the United States military outgunned 401. How many radical soldiers did it take for Lenin to overthrow a country with 11 time zones? 20,000. Name a country that has held off the two most powerful military superpowers in the world and still fight us to this day. Afghanistan. Nowhere near what the American Patriot has in terms of access to our. And let me, and we always. This is another question we always concern ourselves with in the libertarian movement, is we're always wondering, will our peace officers, our law enforcement, our military, will they honor their oath of office? We know that, we already know that politicians don't honor their oath of office. You know, we know that they're not going to defend the Constitution against all, you know, enemies, foreign and domestic. But we always ask, well, we also know that our law enforcement officers violate that oath on a regular basis, all the time, with great consistency. Because in order to do something, they have to go home, they have to get their paycheck, they have to go home and feed their 2 children and pay their mortgage as well. So we know that they're willing to do that. And let me ask you this question. You're 21 years old. And you're stationed at Fort Polk, right? Here in Louisiana. Your commanding officer on the base tells you, load up the Humvees, we're going to go door to door and start collecting weapons in South Louisiana. How many of those young soldiers are going to obey that order? Not because they're willing to defend they're going to take a stand for their oath of office, or their oath of their enlistment to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Going up against a bunch of Louisiana deer hunters, you're going to be shot out of those Humvees before they can get down the road. They will never have seen the hail. There will never have been a hail of bullets like they will experience ever in the streets of Baghdad or in Somalia or in Afghanistan like they will experience here if they start going to the war and trying to collect.
They're not going to do it that way. It's going to be legislative.
Well, they're going to, of course they're going to legislate, but then that's when we have to go, oh no, there's a line in the sand.
One bullet at a time.
What's that?
One bullet at a time.
There's a line in the sand with the patriots in this country. Okay. You know, I had to wear this to walk in this door today. All right. Do you know how many times I've been on the road for 9 days now? You know how many times I've worn this in 9 days? Today. It was the first place we've had a meeting. I've had to wear this. And so I did. And knowing the American patriot and knowing how important it is to the rest of the world that we stand, I think that's the advantage that we have. I think it's the advantage that it's the only advantage that we have. Because never in the history of the world, never, ever, ever, one single time in the history of the world has an internal rebellion or an external force ever come up against anything as pre-prepared as the American patriot is today. And I think that's the only advantage we have. Now, the question is, will we do it? Or will we?
We won't have a choice at some point.
At some point, we may not.
At some point. What about the U.S. military? We're talking about Arizona possibly, the legislature trying to decertify right now. What about the U.S. military?
That's a whole other, that's a whole other story I won't get into because we don't have all night to do that. But the bottom line is, yes, there is that plan. We all have heard about it. Well, maybe you haven't, but we're not going to get into it because if we do that, we'll be here.
Well, I'm not trying to get into it, but the military is going to have to take a side one way or the other.
No, they won't have to take a side.
If they don't take a side, then they are taking a side.
Well, they won't have to take a side unless an executive order comes down for the military to take to the streets, and then at that point the generals are going to have to decide whether they're going to obey that order. But if it's just to halt the violence, I think they will either way. I think whether it comes from Trump or from Biden, if they're ordered to stop the violence, I think they'll stop the violence. But that's not the question you're asking. That's what I'm saying. I know where you're going with that question, and we need 2 more hours for that.
Giving you an order like that would be a catalyzing event for something bad to start.
Yeah.
Whether it's from the military or the people, it would start.
I think they actually close at 9, so they're going to run us out before we can even start answering that question. All right. Thank you. very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah.
If, you know, I'm not gonna pass an offering plate tonight by any means, but, go to the website, buy a t-shirt, you know. I have a great t-shirt, by the way, if you haven't seen it. It's a little saucy, a little spicy. It says, and it's for when you're walking around town or going to the mall or whatever. It says very simply, sorry, I can't wear a mask. It's a felony for me to wear a mask when I'm carrying a gun. Which is not true in every state. But in North Carolina, I think you guys are 100% open carry here, right? Yeah. All right. So in North Carolina, we're 100% open carry, and when I walk into, doesn't matter, name your store and name the sign. When I'm open carrying, nobody says a word to me. But even when I'm not carrying and I walk into a store and somebody goes, sir, you know, and I can't, it's really not, I'm not supposed to do that when I'm carrying a gun. And you just say the word gun, the mask word stops. It just stops, isn't it? And they're not going to argue with you, they're not going to fight with you, they're not going to, you know, do anything else. But the shirt kind of shuts it down too. So, anyways, we'll get a shirt. And yeah, and then if you want to support the effort, there's links on the website for doing that. And we are launching. You know, you all know about Patreon and so stuff like that. We're not going on Patreon because they're deplatforming our side of the voices. So we've actually just before 3 days before I hit the road, we got approved to launch on Dave Rubin's crowdfunding site. So we're going to be going on his site, and when I get to Tulsa in a few days, that's where we're partnering with us. We're going to be working together to get all that out there. So there'll be an opportunity. But you won't see us in your feed more than likely. So just go to the page, go to the Facebook page, go to the pragmaticconstitutionalist.com. Fortunately, the way things are, you only have to type it in one time. Just do it successfully, right spelling, and you've got it all in there, and it'll pop up all the time. But thank you guys, appreciate it.
There's a new website, americaletsroll.us. americaletsroll.us. It's bipartisan, so it's perfect for everybody that's not socialist and communist.